Hey there, this is Yakkin with Nick. I am Nick Hazelton, and let's talk about growing grass today. I should have done this episode last week on Thursday. It would have been 420. Get it? 420 is weed day, and weed's also called grass, and growing grass. Ha 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 ha. Nick's so clever. I actually want to talk about specifically pasture management and livestock management, because that is something I have learned a lot about recently, kind of the hard way. And part of pasture management is and raising livestock is learning how to grow their food. And their food, at least for me, is grass, at least for the yaks. Some of the pigs, they got to have something else, but growing grass is part of this. And so I wanted to make that 420 joke. I apologize if you thought it was lame. I thought it was pretty funny, and so I kept it. But anyway, that's just a side note. I really want to talk about mismanaging my animals and my breeding and my pig, and my pastures, because I kind of screwed up last year. I really don't know much about farming, and I've learned a lot doing it, right, and researching. I've learned quite a bit, but there are some things that really there's a steep learning curve for it. And I've realized that unfortunately, quite recently, that I'm nowhere near an expert. I guess I've always known that. But there is a lot that I don't know. And unfortunately, it bit me in the ass quite a few times in the last year or so. And it's really put some urgency on learning how to get better at farming and what I do. Because I need to do this in a way that I'm not having emergencies. Productivity can be increased quite a bit when you start getting worried. But you don't want to be worried because that's stressful, and it's better to be on top of issues instead of solving them. So that's where I'm trying to work on now. But let me tell you how I failed, because I think it's interesting, and maybe it'll be of value to other people. So I guess the main issue that I'm concerned with right now is grazing and pasture management. And I messed up my pasture management in a few ways. We used to have the yaks and the pigs on the same 7-acre pasture, because we have two different pastures on the farm. We have one that's 7 acres, and we have one that's 45 or something. I don't know the exact. There's quite a bit out there, more than enough for the animals that we have. But I had the yaks and what I was planning to do was have I wanted to do a paddock system. So I was doing that with the yaks on one of our fields, in the 7-acre field. And I did it all right. It worked out somewhat, but we didn't really have it down perfectly. We're moving them every once in a while whenever they eat it down. Unfortunately, we let them eat it down too much. You're supposed to leave like 4 inches, and we let them eat it down pretty much to the ground, not knowing that grass has an optimal growing rate when it's above 4 inches. That's what I've heard and what I've read. But we mismanaged that, and we ended up having to we didn't have enough food there, so we moved the yaks over. And I'm kind of, now I think over this process, I'm kind of forgetting. I should have walked myself through it before I told the story. But we moved the yaks off the 7-acre pasture onto the 45-acre pasture, the big pasture and the small pasture. Let me call them those, so I'm not saying 7-acre and 45-acre anymore. So we put them out there, and they were fine for a while, but we brought cattle on there. Our cousins that are neighbors have historically leased our land there, and so we let them come back. And last year, I think now we can't do it anymore. We've realized that, but the yaks and the cows together ate down that pasture way too fast. So we ended up not having much food, and the yaks took off and went into the neighbor's area where they found pasture. There was just a few of the yaks, but we didn't have a strong enough electric fence. We didn't have the perimeter secured well enough. So we scrambled to get the yaks off that pasture for a while, build the fence that needed to be there, and then move them back on. So we ruined the big pasture by overgrazing and not letting and then we ruined the little pasture by not having a good fence and moving the yaks back onto the little pasture. And it didn't work out. The pigs didn't have any food, and the yaks didn't really have any either. So we moved the cattle off, moved the yaks back, and then I started feeding grain to the pigs because they just weren't getting enough. I could tell they were starting to lose a lot of weight, and some of the animals weren't doing well. So we started feeding them a lot of grain, and that's quite a bit of pretty costly to do. And maybe if I were more clever, I could have found a better feed source, but I don't know. I didn't do that. So I've spent a lot of money on grain, because they didn't have any food. And then luckily I have put up hay. We got 2 cuttings of hay last summer. So we had more than enough hay to feed out during the winter to the yaks. And we ended up coming through it all right. But it was definitely a mismanagement, and I'm not happy with it. And there are more issues than just being underfed. The pigs, we've kind of came back. We're doing a lot better, and I guess I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the yaks recently, just a few weeks ago, I lost 2 yaks in 2 weeks, and they died. I didn't know what happened to the first one, and just found it dead. It was really unfortunate, and it was quite a shock to my system. Like, oh shit, something's going down. And I had a yak get sick, and I could tell she wasn't doing well. And I was helping her out as much as I could. I was kind of just watching her, and she slowly went down. I thought she was improving, but all of a sudden, she was just so weak she couldn't get up. It was really too bad. And she ended up passing away, and we did an autopsy with the vet, and we found that that there was a huge parasite load, that she was really getting her nutrients taken away by these worms in her. And there's a few different kinds of worms that we had, but the reason we had them is I don't really know how the worms got there. It's not unlikely that it was cattle that brought them there. It could have been the yaks had them in their system the whole time. I don't know. I really don't know. But when you overgraze a pasture, there is a lot of animal waste, right? There's a lot of feces, and that's where the worms come in. The intestinal parasites are in the poop. That's what they lay their eggs in the animal, and they poop them out, and then they hatch and crawl onto the blades of grass near the poop. And then the yak will come and eat the blade of grass, and that intestinal parasite is back in them, right? So that's kind of the life cycle of the worms. They're not necessarily worms, but that's what you call them. That's what we call them. They're just parasites. You can't see them very closely. Some worms you can, right? Like tapeworms, but in this yak you couldn't see them. But we did a fecal test, and we found out there was a large parasite load, and it's because that the pasture was, the grass is too short and there were too many animals on it. So that was a big problem, and now I have to deworm my yaks. I guess a few times now. I'm going to have to, and solve that issue, and we're getting on top of it. But all this really comes down to is I didn't rotate and I didn't manage my animals correctly. So that was a big problem. Another problem with the pigs is that I was overbreeding. I was not able to control my breeding very well. I tried. I got Max away from them. I went away from Max is my boar. I got him away from the girls, but I got some bonus litters out of these 2 sows that I bought from my buddy. He had a Vietnamese potbelly boar who had bred with his American guinea hog sows, and I bought his sows eventually because we didn't want to raise them anymore. And they came, and 2 months later they had some potbelly pigs, and those potbellies mature faster than the guinea hogs do. Don't know exactly when these potbellies started breeding, but I know they are breeding because, and this is in the guinea hog breed description, but I can tell the difference between a guinea and a potbelly. And those potbellies have white feet and white on their noses. Some guinea hogs will, but the lines that I have, I don't think they have that genetics. Maybe they do. I don't know. But those potbellies, some of them do. Even it's not all the potbellies have the white on them. But you can tell just by looking at them. They're potbellies. But those things breed at like 4 months. Well, guinea hogs, I swear my guinea hogs won't, or haven't bred before 8. You know, I know that for sure. So these potbellies bred all of my sows again, before I even like realized it. And so I've had 2nd generation potbellies recently, and I'm gonna have more. Hopefully, Max competed with some of them and got some better litters, because those potbellies are quick to breed, and they're not nice to me. They're not mean, because all of them are they're scared of me. I'm bigger than them, and they see me as a predator, which is good. It's better than them seeing me as prey, right? But the animals are not very nice. The potbellies are not nice, so I'm trying to get rid of them. But I mismanaged that. I had way too many pigs, and sorry, I make a noise, and I didn't manage the pastures well. So we had a lot of issues. So right now I have too many pigs of the wrong variety. I have boys with girls. I'm fixing that this month. I'm getting rid of the remaining boys that are in with the girls this next week, sending them off to butcher, putting them into sausage. And I am excited. Let me tell you what, I got rid of 6 last week. Woo! Cut back half of my grain feeding. Not quite half, but close to it, just by getting rid of them. And the next, I'm taking 7 next week, which will be absolutely fantastic. I am excited. So now I've told you what I kind of messed up doing. Let me tell you about what I'm doing now and what I'd like to start implementing. Because I mismanaged my pastures, I've been reading a lot about intensive management rotational grazing. I think it's called IMRG. Yeah. But the idea is that you're moving your animals a lot. So areas of your pasture will have time to recover from grazing. So right now what I have in the 7-acre pasture is I have it cross fenced. So there are 4 areas. One is the barn area where we have we have a pole barn where some of the pigs sleep. And then we have the corral. I believe I've talked about that, the squeeze and the chute for catching animals, particularly yaks. But yeah, that's there, and it's attached to a larger portion of the 7-acre pasture. Then we have 2 cross fences that are I don't know how long they are. They're as long as an electric net fence, because that's what we've been using to move animals. Because they're very easy to set up. Premier One electric net fencing, fantastic. It's not many of their sizes are big enough for yaks, so we've moved to a different kind of fencing. Still using Premier One electric fencing, but not nets. But anyway, we set it up so it would be the length of a net, so we could move those around and set up different paddocks inside of those. So that has worked. It's helped with the pigs. The yaks are off of the small pasture, but the pigs are still there. So what we've done is put those 2 cross fences in, and we have 2 areas for the pigs. So we let them just kill the crap out of one section of it. Now we've moved them off onto a much healthier one that's been able to grow. It got a rest over the last few months, and we moved the pigs off of that. Anyway, the point is, I don't need to give you all the details, I guess. What we're implementing is rotational grazing, so we can move the pigs. So the idea is that the pasture has time to grow back. And I've done some rotational grazing before, but I've learned that I'm letting them eat down the grass too much. You want your grass to stay above 4 inches, because after 4 inches, when it gets below that, the production goes way down. And 4 inches is about the optimal point. Eat it down to 4 inches, and they've tracked. Scientists have been studying this for a while, I guess. There's quite some amazing science that has been put into agriculture, and let me tell you, I did not know that until fairly recently. At least I didn't realize it. But there is good science on growing grass, and they figured out that, I guess, when you get below 4 inches, there's less growth, and you get above 4 inches, there's less growth. So you want to keep it there. So what I'm going to do is split up that big field. The pigs, I don't really need to worry about this pasture management in the same way. I'm not going to do it growing grass right above 4 inches much, because pigs are rooters, and no matter what, they'll just tear up your pasture. Even if there's food out there, they just go after anything that's in the ground, because that's what they do. They're pigs. To an extent, you can keep them happy if you grow a lot of grass like that, I think. But in my experience, pigs just tear shit up. It's just what they do. So it's going to be a little bit different. And I think that what I would like to do, I haven't figured this out, and I don't know how exactly I'm going to manage the pigs in the future, but I've got some ideas. I think I want to grow some root vegetables and just other kinds of more of a variety of plants, not just grass and like legumes, like you would for yaks, but throwing pumpkin seeds and carrots or whatever it is, out there for them. So it's going to be a different kind of pasture management for the pigs. But for the yaks, my plan is to section off these paddocks, the big field, into paddocks. Right now, what I'm doing is split it off in half. We're building that electric fence to split that big pasture in half. Half will be saved for haying this summer. In the beginning of the summer, we'll get a good cutting off that, I think. And then the other half will be used for grazing. And what I'd like to do is come off the half, the cross fence there, and split it into, I don't know exactly how many yet, but I think I want it to be a few acres per paddock for now. Because I need to do a little bit more research and try it out a little bit. So split it off into like maybe 2 or 3 acre paddocks. Move them there, and depending on how fast they eat it down to 4 inches, I'm going to move them. So each pass, and so the idea will be that they'll eat down 1 to 4 inches. I'll move them to the next one. They'll eat that down for 4 inches, and then each of these paddocks will get a rest. And so what that means is the grass grows back, and then the parasites don't have a it cuts the cycle, right? They don't have a chance to get back into animals after they've been pooped out. So they stay there, they die, hopefully, and I move the animals around. And so that will be the idea of what we'll do. That's basically it, guys. Rotational grazing. And part of that, of course, will be, not of course, but will also be, I'd like to put chickens out into this pasture system. I don't know how I'll do it yet. We don't have a very movable coop. But maybe I'll make one. I'll make a chicken tractor that I can move on my own, because I don't have that many chickens. But I also don't have very many yaks, and I really just want them for eggs. So that'll be what I will do, as I will implement an intensive management rotational grazing system, and that will be done throughout the next few months. And I will let you know how it goes, because I think it's interesting, and I want to share that. This is what I've learned. Also with the parasites, I just wanted to share this too, what I learned, because that was a big deal. Losing a couple yaks was a big deal. We're giving the yaks of, I can't talk, I'm sorry. We're giving the yaks a round of ivermectin in spring, and then we'll do it again in the fall. This is a medicine that you can use it in a few different ways, but we're using a subcutaneous shot, which is into the skin. So you stick it in, and then they absorb it. This is not preferable to me. Obviously, I need to stop using like words like obviously and of course, because I don't really mean that. But I'd use it just as a filler word, I think. Anyway, these are not the kind of medicines I'd like to use. Stuff like ivermectin and ivermecto or whatever they're called. These synthetic medicines, I'd like to move away from that. So that's why I'd like to institute, not instigate or install. Well, install, I don't know. Anyway, I'd like to make a system of rotational grazing. That's going to help with that. But then I'm also going to start implementing some different changes. I'm trying to stay away from synthetics, but whether some people will say that diatomaceous earth is not synthetic. I guess it's not. It's mined from the earth. It's technically not synthetic. But that's one thing I'm going to start putting into feed. Well, not feed. I guess I don't really feed the yak, so I can't. But into water. I think that I might be able to find. I've found a number of recipes for some good natural dewormers that use garlic and some other herbs. I'd like to try that, but I don't handle the yaks enough. So I think the diatomaceous earth and the rotational grazing are what it's going to do. Hopefully that'll solve the issue, and I won't have to use ivermectin anymore. But for now, that's going to happen. So I wanted to share this because I think it's interesting to hear, what am I doing, of course, on the farm? What's Hazelton Farms up to? And, I want you to be able to learn about this business that I'm running in this farm, because it's a big deal. I try to be open about what I'm doing and be clear that I'm not an expert. I'm not a master farmer. I make mistakes. And even if I was an expert, I would still make mistakes, because that's what people do. We're not perfect. But I'm trying to learn this. And I realized a while ago that I have some reluctance to sharing my mistakes on the farm, because I've made some that I consider fairly serious. It's my fault that those yaks died, because I didn't do the research, and I wasn't careful. And of course I forgive myself, because that's the I don't know. That's what I do, right? I follow I follow schools of thoughts in psychology and therapy. That's what I do. I'm not going to beat up on myself, and I'm not doing that here. So I don't want to hear, "Oh, Nick, you're fine. You're young and you're figuring things out." I know. All right. I get that, and I appreciate it. But there are serious mistakes I've made, and I could have done better. And I'm learning that, and I'm learning how to do better. And there are just many instances of this that have kind of showed me that I don't know enough, and I need to embrace that and have it's good to have an ego check. And I'm comfortable with that, and I want that. So that's why I'm sharing this. It's a way for me to recognize the issues that I've done and be open with them, so that when I am given advice or when people call me out, if I do something wrong, then I can handle it, and I don't react in a inflammatory or I don't know how else I would say that, but react in a manner that I'd like to react in a manner that is calm, right, and understanding, because I'm here to learn, right? I'm not here to be the best necessarily, and if I am, the way to get to the best is to learn. And so I just wanted to recognize that and tell you guys that's what I'm doing, because it's important to me. All right. I appreciate you listening. This is it. I will talk to you later this week. I have a plan, but you don't get to know about it. So, because why? I don't know. I don't want to share it. You'll hear it. Be patient. Be calm. Anyway, I will talk to you again later this week. Thank you again for listening. If you'd like to help out Yakkin with Nick, you can go to patreon.com/just Yakkin. That's JUSTYAKKIN. And you can pledge $1. I appreciate everybody who does that for me. It's quite appreciated. I'm very grateful. Thank you. If you don't, there are other ways to help out the podcast. I really like feedback. I really enjoy feedback. So if you could take your time out of your day after listening to this, write me a message, write me a comment on Facebook, send me a message on Facebook, write me an email at yakkinwithnick@gmail.com, whatever it is. I appreciate hearing back from you, because I do this for an audience, and that pump in the background just started as I'm ending my show. How frustrating. Anyway, what am I saying? What am I asking for? Feedback. Cool. If you can do that, do it. There's a Facebook group on Facebook. Yeah. Jesus. My Facebook group is Yakkin with Nick feedback group. Look that up, Yakkin with Nick feedback group, and jump in there. Give me some feedback. I really appreciate hearing back from you. Let me know. What do you think about the show? What do you think about the style, how I talk, how I speak? I'm willing to hear any kind of criticism or thoughts that you have, but I'm also mostly particularly I'm especially interested in hearing your feedback on content. What do you want to hear from me, and what do you want to hear on Yakkin with Nick? Also, another way to help out the show, there are many ways to help out the show. Write me a review on iTunes or Google Play. I haven't checked to see if I have any reviews, but I'll do that. And if you write me them, I will give you a shout out. I may not know. Yeah, I'll just give you a shout out. I don't need to add any nuances to that. So don't give me your reviews if you don't want to have your name said on the show. No, I'm kidding. You I think you can say say what your name is on iTunes. If you're willing to give a public comment, you're willing to have me say your name on the show, I'm going to do it. Give me a review, please. Anyway, that's it, guys. I will talk to you again later this week. And, I said I wasn't going to say what I was going to say or what I'm going to do. Jesus Christ. I just can't. I feel like I need to edit these shows, guys. I won't do it because I made a commitment, at least until next month. I think I can't. But I'm seriously considering it sometimes. It's just so much easier not to. I honestly love doing it, but I love not editing. But sometimes I'm like, gosh, I would sound so much smarter if I did. That's the thing. People thought I was smart when I was doing stuff on philosophy, but it's just because I scripted it and edited it so I didn't sound like an idiot. Anyway, you guys learn now. Okay, I'm done. I've been like prattling on, and I'm going to keep prattling on just because I'm annoying. Wait till 27 minutes. I'm done. Bye, guys.